this meeting to order. And we'll get a declaration of quorum.
Matthews.
Here.
Madison.
Here.
O'Neill. Stevens.
Here.
Fickner.
Here.
Sehorn.
Here.
Richter.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Okay. And I would like to invite Desi Sharp Brummett for the invocation, if they happen to be here. And if not, could maybe Commissioner Matthews do the invocation for us?
Absolutely. Let's pray. Lord, we love you. Thank you for the opportunity to come together. God, we're so thankful for all of our friends and neighbors that are gathered tonight. Be with us as we consider important business. Give us wisdom to make wise decisions, compassion to care for others, and Lord, help us to love our neighbors as you first loved us. And we're so thankful for the opportunity to remember Jesus in this Christmas season. In his name we pray. Amen.
You can join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. Attention, salute, pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. Now on to item number 1, citizen participation. As always, there's a 3-minute limit per person, a 12-minute limit per topic. Citizens may provide comment relevant to city business per Oklahoma State Statute 25 OS 311B1. The City Commission may only consider, deliberate, or render decisions on those items of city business that were included in the agenda. For other citizen comments, the City Commission may refer to the matter of the City Manager for administrative consideration or to schedule the matter for Commission consideration at a later date. And so first up, we have Ms. Teresa Cody.
Good afternoon, Mayor and Commissioners.
Good evening.
Thank you for the opportunity of speaking. First off, I would just like to ask that you pull item F off of the consent agenda. I would like this removed because the public would like to know what these two groups are doing, what they have already contributed to our city, and what they plan to do in the future. Or is this just a couple of lobbying groups? And so that's why I would like that pulled. Then the next thing is, I just want to make a quick comment on the sales tax. I watched the special meeting. I appreciate the information I've got there and what I've already received from the county. I think this is something that the whole community across the county needs to have a discussion about. It doesn't just need to be you, or just needs to be me, or just them. It needs to be everybody brought together, because this affects every city, even though Shawnee is the majority. It affects every city, it affects every business, it affects our whole community. And if we're not together on economic development, which obviously we're not across the county, then we're really just voting on something to be voting on it. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up, we have Ms. Edwina Butler-Wolf. Good evening.
Good evening. Yes, my name is Edwina Butler-Wolf, and I have several concerns that I wanted to bring up to the commissioners and mayor. And thank you for allowing me to speak my 3 minutes. So first of all, I live in the Golden Acres addition, which is out west of town by the Expo Center. And there's several things that I'm concerned with about a vacant house in that area, which is, the address is 2127 Ellis Drive. It's been vacant for a while, and there's been several people that has been staying in that house, and I've reported that to the people that I'm supposed to report to the city. I can't remember their names. They have a code enforcement group. So I did report that, and they've gone out there to see if there's anybody in there. Of course, if you go in the daytime, there's not going to be nobody there. At night is when all this activity starts. A neighbor of mine had told me about she having to call the police at 2 in the morning because there was some activity going on in his house. The house has no electricity, has no water, it's not livable, and according to your ordinances and that we have a city, that there shouldn't be nobody in there. There's not a livable place, and they have put signs on the door, and the first round of signs they put on there, someone had ripped them off. So apparently there's somebody in that house. And so I also wanted to see about getting more stiffer ordinances to owners. I know that the owner that owns this house lives out of town and has no concern about our neighborhood there. I do. I have to live there. That's my home. My house is paid for, and I'm not going anywhere. I pay my taxes, my property taxes, and it's not right that someone's living there. It's unsafe. It's not safe. And plus, we have children that has to walk to the bus stop about 3 or 4 blocks. We don't know who's in those houses. The kids are walking early in the morning. It's still dark. And I like to see some patrol on the Ellis Drive because we have a lot of cars that goes up and down that street and that really go fast. The speed it's awful living on that street. And then looking at maybe if we could get some sidewalks on there because we have at least, 10 kids that has to walk to the bus stop. And in the evenings, it's really dark too because some do stay for after-school programs and the bus drops them out late and it's still dark. So the concern, it's the street is really unsafe. I allow them to walk through my yards just to keep them off the street because it's dark and cars are not going to be able to see them in time. So the sidewalks would be nice to have. I do keep my yard nice and most. And so if we could take that into consideration.
Could you repeat that address, please?
It's the vacant house
Yes,
is
ma'am.
at 2127 Ellis Drive.
Ellis, okay. Thank you very much. And then next up, we have County Commissioner Melissa Dennis.
Hello,
Good evening.
how are y'all?
Good evening. I would like to address the Commission regarding 2 recent issues. The first issue addresses the ongoing challenges we face in fostering collaboration among our various leaders. It is clear that our community stands to benefit greatly from a unified approach to governance and decision-making. I recognize that differing priorities and perspectives can sometimes create negative narratives, which create barriers to effective collaboration. However, I believe it is essential for us to find common ground and work together towards our shared goals for the benefit of our constituents and our schools. To facilitate this process, I have proposed numerous times that we consider establishing regular public forums for open dialogue among our community and leaders. These sessions could not only serve as a platform for sharing ideas, addressing concerns, and developing collaborative strategies that reflect our community's diverse needs, but also could eliminate the negative narratives. Which brings me to my second issue, which is the Board of County Commissioners were absent from the special call meeting on the city-related sales tax and general fund operations held on December the 9th, 2024 at 4:30. I was notified by the city manager at 4:47 p.m. on Thursday the 6th. The untimely notification made it impossible for us to post an agenda by 4:30 on Thursday in order for us to participate. We understand the importance of participation in these discussions and assure you that the Board of County Commissioners is fully committed to educating and engaging with the Commission and also contributing to our shared goals. This is why we asked to be on your agenda this evening. We just simply wanted to be transparent by updating and including you, the Commission, on our decision as a Board of County Commissioners to continue our support of the Pottawatomie County Public School Districts. It is my hope that you too will show your support of our schools. By working together and showing our support, we can overcome challenges and continue to strengthen our community's future. With all of us standing united and showing our support, we are fostering a more positive and cohesive working environment which will manifest in economic growth. Thank you and Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas. Thank you. And next up, we have Mr. Rob Morris.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Tonight, from last month, the non-disclosure agreements, I'm curious what the answer was and who signed them and who didn't. And then if you will or won't from here on out, Because saying that it's good business practice, sorry, I was looking at y'all. Saying it's good business practice or standard operating procedures is just a lie. I happen to know 2 mayors. I called 3 other towns just to add to it. No towns of the 5 make their commission sign non-disclosure agreements. What that tells me is that the city of Shawnee has no faith in the integrity of the 7 people sitting up here. They don't believe you can keep your mouth shut. So they'll make you sign an agreement so you don't have a choice. That's a little weird. The PFAS deal tonight, there's one pretty important fact that's left out of the presentation. What are the actual numbers for Shawnee, and what are the acceptable limits per the EPA or whoever it is? It's nowhere in that presentation. I mean, we can talk about litigation and all that all we want, but until you tell people what the actual numbers are versus what the safe limits are, and if we're below them, great. I mean, no harm, no foul. But if we're not, tell everybody so that we know. Last, I agree with Commissioner Dennis and probably a whole bunch more people in that we need to keep the half-cent sales tax for the schools. That's not why Shawnee's tax is high. That's not putting us under, because that half-cent is also, is also a part of ours. It's just not hurting us. It does help the schools in this county a lot. I sit in those county commission meetings. I hear the superintendents and principals come up when they're asking for money. They need to fix this or fix that. And they flat can't without this money. You know, I'm glad that Shawnee Schools has money because we're the county seat, but I want everybody else in the county to get the same education that we do in Shawnee. There's no reason to not vote for this half cent. Now, I did ask the superintendents at a county commission meeting if they wouldn't mind coming up every 10 years or so and telling us, you know, a full report of what happened. I'd go even a little further and challenge them to once annually come to their city and come to their county commission meeting. Just give a report on what you did at your school. That's an easy one, easy win, so that everybody knows where our money went. With that, I got the capital improvement plan, but that's a public hearing, so with that, thank you.
Thank you, Rob. And next up, we have Cindy Berger. Hello.
I wanted to say, I heard a lot of mixed reviews about the parade, but I, for one, I enjoyed it. I think the floats could have been a little closer together to get it over a little faster. And I like fireworks. I know a lot of people in our community would prefer if we just did fireworks on 4th of July. So, of course, I'd be happy for a 4th of July parade also, with fireworks, of course. But I also wanted to bring concern up, too, because I would also like to ask what that item F be voted on separately, so that way we can maybe know also what those consulting groups are for, and what they plan to do to help. Also, I was also curious about what is going on with the executive session with the Fulmer Sill. I was curious on what the city of Shawnee would have to do with price fixing on insulin, and how that even, why would the city would even need to be involved with something like that. So I'm hoping somebody can maybe talk about that after you find out what's going on in executive session. But also, I do want to talk about the schools, because that's what brought me to coming to these meetings in the first place, is my concern with Shawnee Public Schools and the lack of transparency they have. So I like some of those ideas I heard, having the schools come and report and have to show what's going on. In the coming weeks, I plan to be asking the commission for help in getting some transparency from Shawnee Public Schools, because to be told over and over again that the school has done nothing wrong, when you have proof right in your hand to show how they violated their own policies and there is no one to complain to, we need help, and our kids need help, because Shawnee cares more about hurting people's feelings than actually keeping our kids safe. I mean, I used a cuss word in a board meeting to prove a point, and after a year and a half of coming to those meetings, they told me to, stop talking. After that, I was made to quit. And that my point was to show that they were going to make me be quiet over that, but still, when a child stands up to a bully, that's who gets punished. So I just need some help, and I appreciate the half sales tax if it helps. It'd also be nice to know how the schools spend the money, because Shawnee Public Schools seems to get a lot of donations, and it'd be great to have some transparency on where that stuff goes too, because the school is not outside of the law either. So I appreciate it. Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Next up, we have Mr. Del Curbs. evening.
Good evening, Mayor. Good evening, council members. Hey, appreciate everybody this evening. I'm a little perplexed as to why a county tax is even considering and on this agenda at this horseshoe. So let's just, that's a good question to ask. But let's talk about this half-cent education tax. For me, as your state representative that represents a good portion and the seat for the county, it's phenomenal. There are many counties out here that ask us all the time, how did we get it? How did we get it done? Now let's just talk about sales tax real quick and being Shawnee sitting on I-40. When somebody stops out at the McDonald's or the Cracker Barrel or the hotel and stays the night out there, they pay sales tax. They pay 0.49 cents of that education sales tax. Of that education sales tax that has been in place, there's been roughly $30+ million that's went to the school districts within our county. Unless we as individuals in each one of those districts is willing to take on all of that burden in an ad valorem tax, then this is a great thing to share that burden or share that challenge that these school districts have. So I just want to make sure that people understand what we're talking about when we talk about a sales tax. It's a spread burden, and you as the individual can or cannot spend your money. And the ultimate line is you can contribute to it or you don't by not buying something or paying the sales tax. So it's simple. But again, I go back to, I'm not real sure what this has to do with the horseshoe of the city. This is a county-wide election that we're talking about to keep what we have that's so awesome and great, that, like I said, other communities and other counties are very happy to do so. Also, I'm super excited about the Shawnee Airport Authority meeting tonight. That is an awesome example of how when we all get together with the great working relationship of this new commission that's seating up here this evening, of how the state, the city, and the county can all be phenomenal players and move forward together and not being in battles and challenges with one another. And as we move forward, you're going to see that tonight as the citizens see what happens, starting with the airport. And there are so many other opportunities that are even in this agenda tonight that are possibilities. Some of you may not even be aware that there's an opportunity to partner with the state and the county and the city on the kayak dock that's in the agenda thing this evening. There was a proposal, and I can tell you as of this evening, the state and the county are willing to come back and have those conversations if the city willing is. And that saves money for the taxpayer. Thank you.
Thank you, Dale. Next up, we have Mr. Glenn Peck. Good
Your
evening,
Honor,
sir.
that preface is unnecessary, but it's good to hear.
Okay.
Mr. Peck died in 2015, and I'm his oldest son. I haven't been out to see the Shawnee Little Theater production of The Christmas Carol. I hope to do so. But in that wonderful story by Dickens, most of us will remember that line, Tiny Tim, don't we? God bless us, every one. Almost forgotten in that story are the two fellows that came to see mean old Scrooge before his conversion, and they were asking for monies for some local charities. And of course he resonated, bah, humbug. And they said this, which is really what I want to say. Abundance rejoices, and need is so keenly felt. We talk often and we write often about homeless. And by the way, they do not like that term, people that on the street. They say, we've got a home. It happens to be on the street. The needs there are enormous. And thankfully, we've got some agencies that are doing their best to try to meet those needs. I don't know how you do it. I happen to just make it very easy for me. I've talked to some of these dear folks, By the way, we got prisoners down at Big Mac on death row that are better off than these dear folks. They're crazy people out there. Don't let that scare you. We may have some in here for all I know. One guy's told me he killed bin Laden's brother. That's crazy, isn't it? I've talked to people that are here from Silicon Valley that have lost jobs. I asked one fella, why do we have you guys on the street? And his answer was simple. He said, some want to be, some have to be. My concluding challenge is that when you flip the Norman Rockwell calendar and enter into the 2025, I would hope this city and other helping agencies would look at with a great deal of precision at what can be done. I believe that the citizens of Shawnee and other communities do not want to ignore these people. They are people. And as Tiny Tim said, God bless us, everyone.
Thank you, Glenn. Okay. We'll move on to item number 2, consider approval of consent agenda. And we'll do A through E. I'd make a motion to defer item F.
Defer, Mr. Mayor, or pull it for separate discussion?
I'd like to defer to a future meeting, please.
Just procedurally, if we could, remove it from the consent agenda and then make that deferral motion
Okay,
when we
remove it.
go to F.
We'll remove F and consider A through E, please.
Thank you.
And I cannot get in here. Where's the packet? Because I didn't know that was on there.
They're all separate, so are you clicking on A or are you looking at B?
Well, I was trying to get on the packet itself. I come up with a blank page too.
Yeah, me too.
Okay, so. Okay, so we will consider a motion on item A through E. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. Can I get a motion? I'll make a motion.
I'll second.
Okay. We will vote on the question. Motion carries 6-0. And so since we deferred that to a future meeting, we go to item,
No, we need to make a motion to defer
make a
item
motion to
F.
defer to,
No.
And just for clarity, now we would just be addressing
Item
item
F.
as a separate item, which is to approve renewal of contract with Latham Consulting Group and Pennington Consulting for legislative consulting services. And then it would be a motion with regard to that item.
okay. So now we call for the motion.
Motion to defer.
Motion to defer,
To a specific meeting or just a future meeting?
a future meeting.
Need a second? Second.
Yes.
Okay.
Do we have discussion?
Yeah.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, sir.
I'll be voting against the deferral. This group has done a great job for us. They've helped us secure over $10 million through the ARPA funding, some of which we'll appropriate tonight. Shawnee having a voice at the Capitol is something that's very important. For years, we were overlooked. We weren't on the agenda. Now we have great relationships within the agencies at the Capitol, receiving good treatment from ODOT, different agencies. This is an important part. Sometimes we have to invest a little bit of money. They've done a good job for us. And it's a contract that we should approve. And so if we're going to defer it, I'll be voting no and urge my colleagues to vote the same.
Okay.
I'm with him.
Okay.
What's the consequence of deferral?
Pardon?
What would be the consequence
The
of
contract
deferring?
will expire and will be without representation at the opening of session.
Next month?
Right.
before our
When does the
next?
contract expire?
I mean, we'd have to look at the old one, but, I mean, any uncertainty to me is not a good deal with them. We'll fall off the front of the radar. I mean, it's a good firm to have on our behalf. They've done a great job. I think ARPA funds, the city manager could speak to it, over 12.5 million they secured.
Who knows
Anyway.
when the contract expires?
I'm looking that up right now.
And
The contract has already expired.
so why did we wait this long? Is there a reason? I'm just
No,
curious.
there was no reason other than, that was my oversight. I should have brought this item to you before.
So the contract has already expired, so there's
Correct.
there's no consequence of deferral at this point? Right.
The consequence of deferral is that they will stop work.
So they're still working
but they-
currently?
At this point in time, they are working on goodwill, yes.
Okay,
Okay.
so do we have a motion for deferral, or?
We already have
There's one
it,
on the-
okay.
yeah.
Motion.
All right.
There's no more discussion. the
So
question
we've
will be called.
seconded the motion?
That's correct.
Okay. So now we vote. So yes vote is to defer.
Yes.
And the motion carries 4-2. And we move on to item 3, presentation of Pet of the Month by Animal Control.
Evening.
Good evening.
This is Sarah. She's about an 8-month-old German Shepherd mix. She's a happy-go-lucky girl, gets along with everybody that we've introduced her to. She has recently been spayed and got her rabies vaccination. She wasn't this outgoing when we brought her in, so we've worked with her and got her out of that, thanks to our volunteers that have been coming. But I do have some end-of-the-year statistics for you guys. So as we bring 2024 to a close, I'd like to take this opportunity to highlight a few accomplishments that we have achieved this year. In 2024, we've had 490 intakes. We've had 335 adoptions. We've gotten 25 back to their owners and 24 to rescue. To our knowledge, we actually had the first air transport out of here for the City of Shawnee Animal Shelter alone. We had 7 dogs go to a Colorado rescue. We got a first-time grant from Best Friends. To best of our knowledge, it's the first one we've gotten in Shawnee. And then we have been doing a community outreach of the pet food pantry. So anyone that needs food is more than welcome to come and get some.
I want to say that I met this pooch out in the parking lot before the meeting, and I have a chinchilla, which is one of the softest animals in the world, and she's just as soft as that chinchilla. She's very, very soft and cuddly. So she needs a new home.
Did you say you had volunteers that come in and like socialize with the animals?
We recently had a woman step up and be our volunteer coordinator, so she's kind of took that role. And every Wednesday from 9 to 4, she is dedicated to the shelter. And we've been having several come, and we have like a training program. And once they're trained, they'll be able to come without her.
Okay. You looking for more volunteers?
Yes,
Okay.
always.
I know some schools that have some NHS students who probably are behind on their hours. They need those NHS hours.
I'd like to buy that dog for Blake Moody. I know. We have an audience full, guys. Guys, come on. Yeah.
Pick your person.
I think she found that person.
Come on,
That was
Tabby.
easy. That was so easy. Sweet baby.
Thank you very much. Merry
I didn't
Christmas.
have a rental. It's way too much.
What was
trouble.
her name again?
I think it was Sarah.
Sarah?
I think so. Yeah.
She's so sweet. Oh, Rob. Rob. Forever friend. She's like, don't stop. She's sweet. Sweet girl.
Okay, now on to item 4, acknowledgement of the Oklahoma Municipal League's honor roll of service for 25 years of service to the city of Shawnee. And we'll call on Andrea for acknowledgement.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and Commissioners.
Good evening.
Each year, the Board of Directors for the Oklahoma Municipal League recognizes and honors Oklahoma municipal officials and employees who have completed 25 or more years of service. And it just so happens that for the city of Shawnee, we have 4 new names that have been inscribed in the permanent honor roll of service book at the OML office this year. Terry Moore has worked for the city for 29 years. He recently retired from the cemetery division. James Palinkas, again, 29 years of service, municipal service. He is our juvenile prosecutor. Todd Luster, 27 years of service. He is a captain within our fire department. And Jennifer Greenland, 26 years. She is the city's human resources director. The city would love to congratulate all of those recipients and thank them for the many years of faithful service. I know that we have recognition and pins for them, Mr. Mayor.
Yes, ma'am. Can I have Miss Jennifer Greenland, please? 25 years, huh?
26, actually.
26. Oh, this is a misprint.
Well, it's 25 years on the honor
Oh,
roll,
okay.
so.
I can get this open. Oh, I'm with you.
Been busy.
Okay. Well, congratulations and thank you so much. I'll give you this certificate. And thank you so much, Jennifer. And Todd? Todd here?
There's nobody tall enough in this room to be Todd.
Sorry.
I said there's nobody tall enough in this room to
know.
be Todd. Todd is like 6 foot.
So he's not here? Okay. And I know Terry's here. Come on up, Terry. So Terry and I go way back. We're pretty good pals, and it's my honor to present you with this. And how many years? It's 29. You couldn't go for 39. But here's your 10, and here's this for you. And congratulations, buddy. Todd somewhere. I know he's outside somewhere. That's okay. I'd just like to say it's real special that these folks have held on with us that long and put in all those years of work. And I'd like to give them another round of applause if we could. Okay, on to item 5. Presentation by the Pottawatomie County School Superintendents regarding the importance of education funding and the proposed April 1st, 2025 election for the continuation of the county's sales tax half-cent education money, which is set to expire in June 2026. And at this point, we'd like to call on Superintendents Blake Moody from North Rock Creek and Robert Kinsey from Tecumseh. And I guess if there are any more superintendents who would like to join them.
Well, thank you. I'm
Good
Blake
evening.
Moody. I've been the superintendent at North Rock Creek for 14 years now, and lived in Pottawatomie County my entire life. And we were requested to come and present this evening just to educate the city on what the Pottawatomie County sales tax has done for our schools. So I'll speak to North Rock Creek specifically. Having been around when the sales tax was originated 8 years ago now, we immediately began saving our fund. There's a couple of things that I really like about how the sales tax transpired for North Rock Creek. Number one, we have to get local board approval for any expenditure from the sales tax, and then we go before the county commissioners to approve that expenditure again. And so there's a couple of levels of accountability with those funds. One of the ways that we've used our sales tax funds, I applied for a FEMA grant for a tornado shelter, a 5,000 square foot tornado shelter that we actually built with FEMA funding, 75%, and the county sales tax funding the other 25%. And it's a community safe room, so citizens of Shawnee are able to go to our safe room and be safe from an F5 tornado. We plan on, and I actually got a call Friday, that was news to me, we applied for a second tornado shelter at our new high school, and we got and received funding for that as well. And so we'll be able to build a second safe room, hopefully with future sales tax proceeds. And so that's the way that North Rock Creek has utilized our sales tax, and I'll let Mr. Kinsey come up and talk about Tecumseh.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Moody. Commissioners, Mr. Mayor, Mr. Vice Mayor, thank you so much for the opportunity
Sir.
to visit with you just for a few moments about the importance of the half-cent sales tax that we've had here in Potawatomi County for our schools over the last 8 years. When the sales tax initiative was put into place, there were really 4 main areas where school districts could use the funds. Transportation being one of those, technology being a second, capital improvement projects, building projects would be a third, and then security and safety reasons. And so each district has, as Mr. Moody said, the opportunity to choose how it best needs to utilize those funds to meet their needs. In Tecumseh, over the last 8.5 years, we've received over $6.1 million that we would not have had the opportunity to receive without this sales tax initiative. And we've tried to spread that out over all 4 of those pots of money, those buckets of money that we want to have. So in transportation, we purchased 21 total vehicles, added 21 total vehicles to our fleet, including 14 buses, 4 SUVs for student transportation, and 3 agriculture education trucks for our teachers and their uses. In technology, we have provided updated 25 smart boards and projectors, combinations there across all of our campuses. We've purchased students Chromebooks, over 1,000 Chromebooks that we've purchased, over 200 iPads that we've purchased to try to help our students be one-to-one as it comes to the teaching and learning that's going on. We purchased drones for use with our STEAM activities, 3D printers as well along those lines. In addition, we've had some district upgrades. Our server needed to be upgraded, so we've used the funds for that. We've used it to update our networking switches across the district, as well as our wireless internet antenna across the district. And we started an esports program, so we were able to use sales tax funds to purchase the equipment, the technology necessary for that. Just quickly, in our capital improvement projects, we've done roofing at 4 of our sites. We've done paving projects at 4 of our sites. We've resurfaced our track as well as our tennis courts. And we've completed agriculture education swine barn facility using half-cent sales tax funds. Again, these are projects that we wouldn't necessarily have been able to complete without these funds in place. As far as safety and security goes, we've purchased and we're in the process of implementing a strategic squareable panic button for all of our staff members. And that's something that will allow our staff members from custodians, bus drivers, teachers, as well as administrators to communicate better if there are needs that they have, whether that be medical needs of a student or if the unthinkable situation were to occur and we need to contact law enforcement very quickly. Again, since the sales tax was started, we've received $6.1 million. We've completed over 40 projects using these funds, costing a total of about $5 million. We have some set aside for other capital improvement projects, much like Mr. Moody talked about earlier. Of the expenses that we've had so far, over 75% of those would not have had a budget otherwise. 75% of those funds would not have had a budget otherwise. We would not have been able to even consider those things. And the other 25%, being able to use sales tax funds has helped us beef up our general fund to provide more services to our students. And so I just want to say in closing, I believe that a strong county gives a strong Shawnee. And so I think this is a great opportunity for us to continue to partner together to serve our students in this way. Thank you for your time.
Thank you for this opportunity. My name is Will Jones. I'm the superintendent at Dale Public Schools. And this has been a game changer for our school. We're a low ad valorem based school district, and without the funds that we've received through the county half-cent sales tax over the last 8 years, we would be one of the poor districts per student in the state of Oklahoma. And this has been a big hand up that's gotten us off the bottom to where we could provide our students with greater technology and also greater transportation. We've also been able to pay for our school insurances. You know, the rates of that have skyrocketed over the last few years. And so it's just been a huge help for us. All the things that Robbie talked about, many of those things we've done as well, and I don't want to be too redundant for you all, but I want to thank you for your leadership and that you provide for the greater Shawnee area and your service, and thank you for this opportunity as well tonight.
Thank you.
Good evening, Sally Thomason, it's Pleasant Grove, and here in Shawnee, and we are one of the smallest districts here in Shawnee. And this has had a significant impact on our school district and the students that we serve. We also are a low ad valorem, entity within Shawnee, and so the impact that it has had most significantly was very similar to what North Rock Creek did with the implementation of a safe room. And so there was money generated for that, but then there was also sales tax money that came alongside that was able to help complete that project of a safe room, and also gym renovation to be able to provide things that were ADA compliant with bleachers and entrances and doors and restrooms. And so lots of different things that it is able to allow us to support different causes within our school district so that we have the ability to serve our students. Since the completion of the safe room in 2020, it hadn't ever needed to be used, but we've used it this fall. And so we were very thankful that we had the ability to bring our students in and ensure during the school day that when we have something that happens like that during the day, that we have a place to shelter and we can keep them safe. We even brought community members in and allowed them to use that as well. So that's a game changer when you're thinking about safety of students during the school day. Nobody wants to think about that, but myself, along with anybody else that's here, that weighs really heavy on us when we have those significant situations that may occur during the day, because those are lives of children. We want to send them home to their families. That's our ultimate goal. And so we're appreciative for that. And then also an activity bus was able to be purchased. We have a lot of other plans, but we also have used it for some different things whenever we've had maybe a major expense that has come up unexpected, and we've been able to approve it through our board and then bring it to the county commissioners. But we just appreciate the support that we've had from the commissioners and then also from the city of Shawnee and what it means to our school district, but most importantly, what it means to the students, because they're the future of this community. So appreciate you all. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. I'm
Good
Teresa
evening.
Wilkerson, and I'm the acting superintendent of Shawnee Public Schools. And I'm going to mirror what everyone said. We stand united as a group of superintendents, and are so appreciative of this tax for the capital improvements that it allows us to do. So in Shawnee Public Schools, we've had technology upgrades. We've had the playground upgrades, transportation, 14-passenger bus for our students. It helped us tremendously in the tornado, recovering from the tornado. And I will say that Stucker, before the tornado on April 19th, was our safe room, and it was built from Pot County sales tax education funds. And the safe room remained standing when a lot of other buildings on our campus did not. And so this tax is very important to the heart and soul of Shawnee Public Schools. And I say that public schools represent the community that they foster pride in. And so this tax is very important for Shawnee Public Schools. And if you want to know what we spent our money on, we're very transparent. It is located on our webpage, and it shows what we've spent the money on in the last 8.5 years. And so we're very proud of the partnership that we have with the community, and we want the exterior of our community to match the excellence that houses in the interior of our school buildings. So thank you for your support. Please know that what you do is so appreciated and so necessary for the hope-filled future that we give for our students. Thank you.
Good evening. Thank you for your time this evening and allowing us to come forward and present. I am Dr. Matt Posey. I'm the superintendent at Bethel Public Schools, and as several other superintendents said, we are a low ad valorem district. To give you an idea how it's benefited Bethel schools, we have received $3.7 million over the course of the 8 years up to this point in the sales tax. It's been a game changer for Bethel. Without that sales tax, we would not have been able to do so many different things that I'm going to mention here this evening. We've been able to upgrade and purchase new buses, transportation, upgrade our technology infrastructure, and also devices for our students, and enable the district to purchase and update their curriculum when they probably would not have been able to do that. And it's also been able to allow us to provide upgraded, something as simple as upgrading and purchasing new uniforms for band, fine arts, football, athletic programs as well. So we really appreciate the opportunity, and as Representative Kerr said earlier, I was an outsider at the time when you guys, the commissioners, had the foresight to think about this tax. And the county is a trendsetter when they did it. It's one of a kind in the state, and it's often used as a model. And so I just appreciate the fact that the commissioners thought of that at that time and how it's benefited all the schools, and just would really encourage you to take into consideration tonight, after hearing how it's benefited all school districts, to provide that support moving forward. And again, thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Good evening. I'm Cindy White. I'm the superintendent at Maud. And as many of you know, it's small, rural, and as other superintendents have spoken, very low ad valorem. We receive about $60,000 a year as far as our building fund, which isn't a lot when you're trying to buy buses, which most of us know are well over $110,000, $120,000. And so this money has allowed us to buy buses, excuse me, our technology upgrades, desks, and because of that, this money, we're able to, it frees up money so that we can put more money into the teaching and learning, into the curriculum and into the instruction. Again, the main thing that I want to say today is that I'm just so thankful for this money, because it allows us to buy some of the big ticket items that normally we wouldn't be able to do. But future needs, we need to replace our football lights. Right now, we're going to have to do a total, even the electricity has to be done. It's the original electricity, which is going to cost, a district that our size, pretty close to $400,000. And without this money, we wouldn't be able to do that. So we appreciate, I personally appreciate the support that you have given us, and support the commissioners for allowing us to do this as well. Thank you for your time and for what you do. And Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Hello, I'm Rhonda Hockenberry from McLeod Public Schools, and I don't want to be too redundant, but like most of the other districts, we are one of the larger districts in Pottawatomie County, but we too have a very low ad valorem, and we have used the money much like Tecumseh has. We have spread it out amongst those 4 categories. We've purchased buses, vehicles for the school. In 2017, we put smart boards in every classroom in the district, and we're getting ready to have to do that again because those are kind of aging out and need to be replaced. So hopefully we'll be able to use these funds to do that again. We improved the infrastructure of our internet system. We totally redid the elementary gym in 2019, baseball lights. In 2020, we started putting all of our utility bills in were being paid for out of the county funds. And to date, since 2020, $1.5 million
has been put just towards McLeod's utility bills. And so out of the 4.9 million that we've collected over the course of this tax, 1.5 million has gone toward our utilities. And it hasn't really been mentioned this evening, but school insurance has gotten crazy. In 2019-20, McLeod's school insurance was $168,000, and this last year it was $471,000. That's a $300,000 increase. And, there aren't any extra funds coming from the state of Oklahoma to pay for those. And so, this is a place where we have some extra funds to rely on and fall back on as those insurance costs are just becoming astronomical. So we're very thankful for the forethought of having this tax. We're very thankful to the commissioners and to the voters, to the constituents of Potawatomi County, and we hope that they will think about us and consider us when this vote comes again. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Good evening. I'm Ryan Rosser. I'm superintendent at South Rock Creek School, just on the other side of the river. We say we're the good Rock Creek. My district's a little different than most of these districts. We don't have a lot of business in our district, and our school truly is we have a saying, we're the heartbeat of our community. We count on this tax money so much. We pay our utilities monthly, average about $12,000 a month on utilities. I've only been superintendent now for 3.5 years, but it appears that we saved ours for the first 4.5, 5 years. Lately, we've bought some big ticket items for us, which are playground equipment, safety, film on every exterior window, not bulletproof, but safety, that would take a little longer to get through. And then we've replaced some lockers and have plans for using some more of our money. I'm glad that they saved it. It allows us opportunity to spend on future things. For example, like Ms. Hockenberry said, the insurance, I don't know our numbers right off, but ours has tripled in my short tenure there. So again, South Rock Creek, on behalf of South Rock Creek, we're very thankful to have this and appreciate everybody's support.
Thank you.
Hello, I'm Scott Douthit. I'm superintendent at Wanette. This is my first year at Wanette, so I can't speak a whole lot to what they've used money for in the past, other than I do know they've used it for technology upgrades. Bought a Suburban with it a couple of years back. Currently, we use it to pay our utility expenses. Being the smallest district by far in the county, this money is very important to us. With declining enrollment over the past few years comes declining state funds. This has been a way for us to offset that by a pretty good percentage. Allowed me this year to bring in a couple of programs to try to draw students back in and try to get our enrollment going in the right direction. So again, very important to Wanette schools, and we would like to see it continue.
Thank you.
Jason, my name's Jason Alsop, and I'm superintendent at Asher Schools. And I'll be brief because you've heard from a lot of us, and it's a lot the same things, but some of the things that we've used it for, we've used it to purchase transportation. We've bought a bus, we've bought an SUV. We've also built a softball locker room dressing facility. We have bought some lawn care equipment, but the biggest thing that we do is we pay our utilities with it every month. And, if insurance keeps going up, I'm gonna have to look at paying insurance with it in the future. So I hope all of y'all will get on board with us and help us get this tax passed.
I'm Ryan Friend. I'm the superintendent at Earlsboro Schools, and as all colleagues here, this House Senate Schools has been very important in every school district. We're a small school district, and one of the things we've done with over the years is provide new school buses. We pay our insurance with it. Our insurance has more than doubled in the last 2 years. Without the House Senate sales tax, we would have to do some other things, be creative to come up with that money. It's a big impact. We also got to purchase a new school truck, replacing the school truck it was 25 years old. Without that, we wouldn't have been able to do that as well. We also pay our utilities in the past with it, and it's just a big game changer. And it affects the big school districts, small school districts, have since sales tax. Again, I think I think our county is the best county in the state, especially for school systems. And as long as we work together and make this thing happen, I think all our kids and all of our school systems will be better off. Thank you for your support, and if you guys ever have any questions, feel free to contact any of us. We'd be more happy to answer any questions. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
I'm Matt Riggs. I'm the superintendent at Macomb School. Mr. Matthews, I think last I saw you, we were refereeing and we were extremely popular together, if I remember correctly. So, we, just like the other schools, we've purchased things with the county sales tax, buses, technology, HVAC, et cetera. What the county sales tax does for schools like Macomb, small districts, is allows us to have a strategic plan for how we're going to make upgrades year over year. Before the sales tax, our building fund would be 45,000 or so, 40,000. And we would have to try to use that to make sure that we didn't have some kind of major catastrophe. So what we're able to do now is with that sales tax, we're able to put things on a schedule. We're able to say we're going to replace so many air conditioners over a certain amount of time. We're able to replace so much technology over and create kind of a rolling situation to where we actually can have a strategic plan for our facilities upgrades, which we would not have had before. So again, we have bought a lot of stuff, but the impact it's had for us is to, create a 10-year plan, create a long outlook, and not have to live, catastrophe to catastrophe within our building. So we appreciate your attention to this and hope this is something that the county will continue to support. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, Mark Boland on the Grove School. Thank you, Mayor and Commissioners, for having us this evening. I'll echo exactly what Mr. Riggs just said, that this source of funding allows us to create a budget for some facilities items that we wouldn't have otherwise. And so it gives us a constant source of funding that we can count on. Much like the other superintendents that you heard from this evening, Grove has used these monies for re-roofing projects, replacing HVAC units. We have a fairly large project coming up this summer for some athletic fields as well as some classroom remodels. So we're very appreciative of the voters of Pottawatomie County for supporting this measure and hope that it continues. And thank you for your time. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Good evening. Rick Goen, I'm president of the board for North Rock Creek. And just to kind of give you an idea what this tax has done over the last 8.5 years, our county schools have benefited $36 million total. That's off a half cent. That's $36 million that our county patrons haven't had to pony up for they're out of their own communities. With Shawnee being the largest school, they've got the biggest benefit of it, and that's the way it should be that way. Just in the city, looking at the city portion of that tax, they collected $288 million. So the schools have got a small piece of it, but for every one of us, it's been a large piece of our pie. So I encourage you to support this tax, and also keep in mind that not one dime of this sales tax money can be used for salaries. It has to go to capital improvements or buses or education items. That leaves and frees up more money for us to pay our teachers, our support staff. So again, thanks for your support, and we look forward to having your support on this as we move forward. Thank you.
Thanks, sir. Okay. Now on to item number 6, public hearing on an amendment to the City of Shawnee 5-year capital improvement plan, CIP, for fiscal years 2025 through 2029, encompassing multiple changes. Call on Kimberly Smith, there you are, for a staff report.
Good evening. The capital improvement plan is for fiscal years 25-29 and was adopted on June 17, 2024. City staff is requesting an amendment to the CIP to make multiple changes. Fund 301 capital improvement projects. In October 24, the City Commission received $191,000 grant from the Avis Foundation for construction of 2 splash pads. The city will be adjusting the cost for the Boy Scout Park splash pad of $156,000, utilizing both city and Avitas Foundation funding. In parallel, the Optimus Park splash pad will be added to the CIP in the amount of $226,000, utilizing both the city and the Avitas Foundation funding. A change will also be made to the kayak dock area improvements, adjusting the cost of the project to $344,000. In lieu of purchasing replacement vehicles, the City of Shawnee will be partnering with Enterprise for the police department fleet vehicles. Therefore, the police fleet replacement project will become a police fleet leasing project, inclusive of a residual payment option at $227,920. The cost will remain unchanged, and no budget amendment will be required. In Fund 302 for the street improvement, the previously planned high mast light replacement will now be handled by ODOT, freeing up $270,000 that will be allocated for this project. The Main Street Bridge replacement is now complete and came in at $50,000 under budget. The combined amounts for these two projects will be moved to increase the unit rate paving and drainage project amount from $500,000 to $820,000. The West Tech Road overlay will be moved from fiscal year 2030-34 schedule and incorporated into the unit rate paving and drainage project for the fiscal year 2025, and no budget amendment will be required. In Fund 303, 2018 Capital Improvement Fund project, a new capital project in the amount of $63,900 will be added for the purchase of the Expo Fleet Acquisition 3/4-ton truck for the Heart of Oklahoma Exposition Center. A budget amendment will be required for this item. In Fund 304-501, American Rescue Plan Shawnee Municipal Authority Funds project, this is going to be a new fund combination tab that's going to be added to our CIP, adding the Walnut Street Waterline project in the amount of $1.2 million to be moved to this combined funding category. And a budget amendment is also required for this. And last, in Fund 501, Shawnee Municipal Authority Fund project is a new capital project in the amount of $299,500 will be added for the design of the Southwest Loop Water Main project. And a budget amendment is required for that. Any questions?
Okay, thank you. Now we'll open this for public hearing. And is there anybody here to speak on this subject?
Most of them I'm okay with. The one about the kayak dock, I have an issue with. We were told by the guy that installed that that's a bad place. So unless you're gonna kill all boat traffic, meaning even putting in the water and then coming through that channel, that's a terrible place for that kayak dock to be. It's not safe to have people that need help around propellers on boats just traveling by. But here we are, now we're gonna build the whole area up. That was picked by a commissioner. The guy that installed it, that was his reply when I asked, why is this kayak dock here? A commissioner said, and he used to sit in, well, he used to sit to your right. This needs to be fixed so that everyone that uses that kayak dock, whether they have a need or they just want to learn, doesn't have to worry about the boat traffic. You can go 100 feet around there to the north, and there's a little cove right there. Wouldn't hurt anything. Yeah, there's a lot of sandstone and stuff like that, but it's a good little spot. I didn't actually see that on here, which I did on the website. The last one, make sure I got this here. No, I take that back. That's all I had, was just the kayak dock, and it doesn't need to be there. That's not a safe place. We don't need to go forward with something that's gonna cause people issues.
Thank you. Now, do we have discussion amongst ourselves, or we go to consideration?
If there's no other public comment, then
Correct.
consideration.
Okay.
You need to close the public hearing.
So now we've closed the public hearing, and we'll move on to item number 7, consideration of amendment to the City of Shawnee 5-year capital improvement plan for fiscal years 2025 through 2029, encompassing multiple changes. And again, we call on Ms. Kimberly Smith.
And with this one, it's just the staff is recommending to amend the City of Shawnee's capital improvement plan.
Okay.
And if you have any questions.
Do we have drawings and engineering plans plans and for the just general kayak dock area improvements, is that, what do we have for that?
There is a complete design plan for the kayak area improvements to make sure that there is accessible parking, that there is an accessible pathway, that there is a shaded rest area, that the current restroom facilities are incorporated. So that has already been laid out. In doing so, the originally set aside $260,000 was estimated as insufficient, which is when the Avitas grant was made available to the city. Some additional city funding that had been set aside for Boy Scout Park, which will now take care of Optimist and Boy Scout Park splash pads with the Avitas funding 1-for-1. There was some additional money that could be moved into the kayak dock in order to be able to move that forward. So the long answer to your short question is yes, there are design plans and it is ready to go to bid, but at this time, the engineer's estimate was higher than the $260,000 that had been set aside already in the CIP.
So what's the plan if and when it goes over so we started at 244, now we're at 360 some odd. So what's the plan, where's the additional money gonna come from if and when we go over this allotted amount?
So, as you know, all projects over a certain amount have to comply with the Competitive Bidding Act. So, state law requires us to go out for competitive bidding. A construction project, regardless of the amount, and of course you have more awards on your agenda for later this evening, it will have to come back to the City Commission. At that point in time, if the bids are coming in higher than the estimated amount, which every once in a while that does happen, we can either reject a portion of that or we can reject it outright at that time because there's insufficient funding if that was the case.
And what specifically number-wise is our portion of this currently?
I'm sorry, say that again?
What number-wise is our portion, what is our contribution of this? So Avitas is kicking in grant money?
So the Avitas Foundation has given the city of Shawnee a $191,000 grant for splash pads at Optimist and Boy Scout Park. And because it is a 1-for-1 match, there was funding overage that could then be taken from Boy Scout and moved over to the kayak dock, which is why this particular item does not require a budget amendment, as you may have noticed on your agenda.
Any other questions? So, I'd make a motion to approve. Let me get this right here. Everything less the 3/4 ton truck. I'd like to make that for a separate consideration, if I may.
So I understand, Mr. Mayor, the 3/4 ton truck for the Expo fleet, and would you like to have that separate consideration tonight?
I think so. I think we'll do it tonight.
So we would be trying to make sure we make it as clean as possible. So that'd be a motion to approve the proposed amendments to the City of Shawnee 5-year capital improvement plan for fiscal years 2025 through 2029, less the proposed change for the 3/4 ton pickup for the Expo fleet. Is that correct?
Yeah.
And if I may, Mr. Mayor, you want to have separate discussion on that?
That is correct.
Okay. If I might suggest, we could have that separate discussion outside of a motion, and then if that
Okay.
changes the motion, it changes the motion. If it does not, it does not, but then we just have a single motion coming out of this agenda item, which may be a little bit cleaner, if that
Okay.
makes sense.
Sure.
But you're open to have that discussion now under this agenda item.
Okay. So, I would like to know.
Does he need to withdraw the motion?
There was no second.
Okay,
Right.
gotcha.
So, my deal is I'd like to know more about how the truck will be used, what it's used for, who it's used for, who will be driving it, what they'll be doing with it.
If the commission would allow me to start a little even farther back. As you know, the city owns the Heart of Oklahoma Exposition Center. And in 2019, we retained a management firm to run this particular livestock expo on behalf of the city. So the assets, quite a few of those were in the hands of the Shawnee Civic and Cultural Development Authority, quite a few other ones, and particularly hard improvements to the land itself, and several of the very big equipment is already a Shawnee property. So we hired the management firm to operate this livestock expo, but at no point in time are they required to make any capital purchases. Everything is provided for them. They just simply manage the operations. And in this particular case, at this time, we've lost, a truck was stolen from the expo and was damaged beyond repair. So operationally, they are down by a truck, which means we have to replenish that truck. That truck that was taken from the expo and then destroyed was actually an SCCDA-owned item. And as the SCCDA, as you know, is in the process of dissolution, it now falls to the city of Shawnee to provide a truck for the operations at the expo. That is how that truck is to be used for expo operations, to pull items, to haul things, bales of, shavings, all of those things. And for that, it has to be a 3/4 ton truck in order to be able to handle that load. That was a rather long answer to your relatively short question.
Okay. All right. Any other questions while I have Andre up there? Pertaining to item 7? Any high mass questions or more kayak questions or anything?
So
Okay.
the 344,000 that we're wanting to spend on the kayak gets us exactly what?
So, at this point in time, there is only an accessible kayak dock, but not an accessible pathway to the kayak dock. So quite often that kayak dock finds itself in use, but to get onto the kayak dock, there has to be an accessible pathway. In addition to that, ADA requirements call for accessible parking spaces. Right now, that is a gravel parking lot, and so there have to be put in place accessible parking spots and then an accessible, usable pathway all the way to the kayak dock. There's also, as part of that design, there is a shade structure, because if somebody is waiting for a ride, somebody else to come pick up the kayak, for example, we want to make sure that they're not sitting out in the Oklahoma sun. That is all entailed in the current design.
So if we wanted to pull that out, we could as well?
Pull out the kayak dock?
Mhm.
Yes.
I'd like to.
For a future date or a separate consideration? Does it?
Well,
Future date.
Because of our CIP policy, it would have to be a future date, and it would have to be with enough advance notice to follow the policy, which includes publication notice and a public hearing. So, I don't know that consideration at a future date makes a ton of sense. If we pull it out of this CIP amendment, it would just be a whole new process of a new CIP amendment to reconsider that, if that makes sense, Commissioner.
I don't care how we do it, I just don't want it involved in this for approval anymore.
Okay. Okay.
And that would be done in very similar fashion to the motion I proposed when the mayor requested that the 3/4 ton pickup for the expo fleet be withdrawn as well. But just for ease of the clerk and the public's understanding, I think it makes sense to do one vote with whatever items you want amended or changed in that motion.
So, to be clear,
I'll make a motion.
okay,
I make a motion we approve item 7.
okay. So that's with
Everything.
I'll second it.
with everything.
Everything.
That's the motion and the second.
Okay, it goes to vote now, right?
Correct.
Failed, 3-3. So is that the whole item 7?
No,
That's just the,
there can be additional motions
Okay.
because that motion did not carry.
okay. So, do we have any other motions on 7?
So we motion to approve without items, without the kayak dock and without the truck.
Nobody's
Second.
done that.
That's what I'm saying. I'm saying that's a motion. I'm making a motion. And I'm seconding. Okay.
So there'll be a motion.
Poor Lisa.
Are you keeping up? Sorry.
Okay, so Commissioner Madison, you made a motion to approve the proposed amendments to the CIP, less
Kayak
the kayak
and truck.
and the
Truck.
transportation truck. And Commissioner Pickens, you seconded that.
Point of order, do discussions end if the motion carries?
I have a question. We have a motion and a second, so I have a question.
Was there a second?
Yes.
Yeah.
I second it.
Do we have any more explanation? Representative Curbs talked about awesome opportunities with the state regarding the kayak dock that we're probably about to forfeit. Can you talk about those?
Well, and that's why I made the point of order, is like, do discussions end if this motion carries?
No, there can be discussion of this motion before a vote.
Okay.
Okay.
Commissioner Matthews, I am unaware of any additional assistance. I know that before I came to this position, there was conversation about putting the kayak dock in a different location. That may be related to that.
I don't know. In public comment, he talked about exciting opportunities related to this item. I didn't know if we had more information on that.
I do not have any additional information on exciting opportunities.
Thank you.
I'm familiar with it. I'm familiar with the opportunities. We had an opportunity to move it with very minimal expense to the city, state, and county. All parties were willing to be involved, and at some point, it was turned down, and that offer is still on the table. So it can be moved to an alternate location at minimal expense that would be a better location and much safer for the people who would be using this dock. So it would be out of the way. And if anybody's been on the lake, the location of where this dock is, and I feel like this is just extremely overlooked, the location of where this dock is very dangerous from where the channel is between the two lakes. And so to have it in that location and then to try to maintain the consistent ADA compliance, because that's 1 inch per foot for a ramp, and even though that dock is floating, if the lake level increases or decreases depending on what the length of that dock is, if we have to extend the dock, it's going to be further out in the lake. So the location is not safe for handicapped individuals to be entering into the water with boats around them. So the opportunity for the state to move it to a different location, that is something we really need to look at. The state, the county, everybody's offering to help with this. So I feel like we need to explore those options. So if you're not aware of them, I'd like for us to look into that. agree.
Okay. So now, do we make a motion to approve minus the two items? Or we've already done it? So we've had our discussion, so now we call the vote?
If there's no further discussion, the vote can be called, yes, sir.
Okay. So motion carries 4-2. So now we move on to item number 8, consideration of the following budget amendments regarding the City of Shawnee's Capital Improvement Plan, CIP, for fiscal years 2025 through 2029. I'm assuming letters B and C now. And we're calling Kimberly.
Excuse me, yeah, with the adjustments of taking the truck off in Fund 303 for the $63,900, and the kayak is not on our budget amendment. We didn't have to do a budget amendment for that. So that'll bring down our total budget amendment now to $1,499,500 for items B and C. And, excuse me, for B, the budget amendment is to appropriate the fund balance and contingency for the CIP Fund 304501, ARPA SMA, to fund the Walnut Street Water Main Project in the amount of $1.2 million. And the third one is going to be appropriate the fund balance for the CIP Fund 501 Shawnee Municipal Authority, adding Southwest Loop Water Main Project in the amount of $299,500. Any questions?
I don't guess we do on this one.
Yes?
No, I don't think
Okay.
we do on this one.
Thank you.
So can we get a motion on item 8?
And just to make it a little more succinct, Mr. Mayor, staff's recommendation that you just heard was to approve 8B and 8C.
Correct. Thank you for that. I know everything's getting a little bit muddied up here, but
So motion to approve 8, B, and C.
and I'll second. And motion carries 5-1. Now to something a little bit easier, I hope. Item number 9, consideration and approval of the city manager's hiring of James Perwanick as the city's fire chief. And we're calling Andrea.
Our city charter is very specific in the way we hire our department heads. The city manager's office is tasked with finding suitable applicants and then brings a final selection to the city commission for approval according to our charter. In this particular case, it is my pleasure to share with you that James Perwanick would be an awesome new fire chief. He has been with the Shawnee Fire Department for 20 years. He has vast experience in fire suppression as well as fire prevention. And since August of 2024, this year, he has already served as our acting fire chief, and most recently as our interim chief. Has already made several procedural and policy improvements that have really moved the Shawnee Fire Department forward. So it is with that I ask for his approval to become the next fire chief for the city of Shawnee.
Now, we have any discussion if we'd like? I just want to say I agree with you 100% on James. Don't know him that well, but everybody I've talked to say can't go wrong. So, all right. With that, Can I get a motion on item number 9?
Make a motion to approve. A second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Now we'll take our vote. Motion carries 6-0. On to item number 10. And again, we're going to call, consideration of a contract between the City of Shawnee and Wall Engineering for design services associated with the Southwest Loop Water Main Project. And in Seth's absence, we will call Andrea.
Thank you. I will try to be a good stand-in for Seth, who cannot be here this evening. This particular item would create redundancy in our water distribution system. We currently have a couple of stub lines on the west side of 177 that are not appropriately connected, and so water aging is an issue. Putting in that almost 10,000-foot extension of the 12-inch water line, which currently stops short on Farrell on the north side at Kennedy, it would allow us to connect that to the system on the west side of Highway 177. Again, this is a crucial loop for the system. This particular proposal is for the engineering and design that is associated with that project. Thus, it is a smaller, as you can imagine, dollar figure than the actual construction. But Wall Engineering has done work for us before, both on the water distribution as well as the sewer collection side. And we have worked very well with Wall Engineering. I'd be happy to answer any additional questions you may have on this particular item.
Just to be clear, this involves like surveys, the geotechnical engineering. We're going to have to cross a state highway. We're going to have to cross a river. There's going to have to be a lot of inspection and engineering, a lot of as-built. It's not going to be an easy job.
No, it is not an easy job. You are correct.
Okay. Any other questions? Okay. Thank you, Andre. Can we get a motion on item number 10?
Make a motion to approve item number 10.
Okay.
I'll second.
Got a motion and a second. Ashley and Lauren, and now we will vote on the question. Motion carries 6-0. On to item number 11, consideration of a professional services agreement with Kimley Horn and Associates, Inc. to provide design services for Wallace Street Sidewalk Project. And again, in Seth's absence, we will call Andrea.
The Wallace Street Sidewalk Project is currently included in the city's capital improvement program. This particular item is asking for consideration of a professional services agreement with Kimley Horn to actually design this particular sidewalk construction project. As you know, this is on the north side of Wallace Street between Kickapoo and Harrison, and it would provide a vital pedestrian connection to Jefferson Elementary School, which we currently do not have. This particular agreement would call for surveys, final plans, railroad crossing coordination, which is always a challenge. The project itself is to take about 300 days from the notice to proceed, and ultimate construction is right now estimated at somewhere between 750 to 800,000. Once the design plans are complete, we can then turn around and resubmit this project to the Oklahoma Department of Transportation for consideration for one of their transportation alternatives set-aside grants to where that can actually be grant funded with a match from the city. But it would be best to have the design documents in hand to do so. And I'd be happy to answer any questions that you have on this particular project.
And to be clear, this is the same as the previous project. This is for survey, final plans, railroad crossing coordinations, that type of thing.
It is a complete design that includes all of those components.
And on this one, we do have to cross a railroad, so we're crossing highways and rivers on the other one, railroads on this one.
Always a difficulty and
Okay.
barrier. Yeah.
Yep. Any other questions from us? Lauren's thinking.
No.
No?
In the math.
Okay, do the
How
math.
long the project would be.
Okay. Okay, thank you, ma'am. And can I get a motion on item number 12?
I'll move to approve.
Second.
Got a motion and a second from Lauren and Ashley. And so we will consider the vote. The motion carries 6-0. On to item number 13, consideration of a memorandum of understanding between the City of Shawnee and the Oklahoma Department of Mental Health and Substance Abuse Services related to the provision of overdose education, naloxone distribution training, and overdose reversal kits.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, ma'am?
Number 12.
Did I skip 12?
I thought we were on 12.
Oh, because, okay, I'm sorry. Let's go back to 12. We forgot about the fire department. Consideration of an amendment to a contract with Landmark Construction to provide construction manager at-risk services for the Shawnee Fire Department Station Number 3 remodel. And our new fire chief, Mr. James Kerwanick.
Mr. Mayor and Commission, in April of '24, or April of this year, the City Commission authorized city staff to negotiate and enter into the contract for construction manager at-risk services for the Shawnee Fire Station 3 remodel. And as you're aware, the CMAR is a delivery method that involves a commitment by the construction manager to deliver the project within a guaranteed maximum price. The CMAR provides professional services and acts as a consultant to the city during the design and development and construction phases. City staff is also pleased to report that the design stages of the project are nearing completion, and Landmark has submitted a GMP for an amendment to their originally negotiated contract. This amendment will cover the total cost of construction as well as Landmark's consulting fees. The GMP is $1,747,431. Excuse me. The project was identified in the City of Shawnee's capital improvement plan with a budget of $2.5 million. Staff has been actively involved in the design, bidding, and budgetary processes and has reviewed the GMP submittal. City staff recommends approval of the amendment.
Thank you. Any questions for Chief Kerwanick on this particular item?
So the staff that are working at that fire department have had some input?
The staff, not as much of them, but that station will remain open and operable during the process.
So we're asking our firefighters for their opinions on, I think what you're asking is, the guys working at the station, did they get a little bit of input on this design changes or how it's laid out? Since they're the ones living there and working there.
Yes.
I think that's what you're asking, correct?
That's what I'm asking.
Yep.
So there is an executive fire leadership team meeting between the CMO, the battalion chiefs, the chief and the deputy chief. And this was discussed as part, the redesign of the station was discussed as part of this executive leadership team. What it will offer is additional operational areas which are desperately needed at Fire Station Number 3 and a complete remodel of the living quarters. So it will make a much more functional area. The one complaint we did receive was taking away the table and instead putting in a breakfast counter, but beyond that, the design was well received, and I hope that answers your question.
Yes, thank you.
Okay. Thank you, James. Now, can we get a motion on item 12?
Make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
Ashley and Lauren, we have a motion and a second, and now we will vote on this. And motion carries 6-0. Now, I ought to be able to read this really good. I've already done it once. On to item number 13. Consideration of a memorandum of understanding between the City of Shawnee and the Oklahoma Department of Mental Health and Substance Abuse Services related to the provision of overdose education, naloxone distribution training, and overdose reversal kits. And again, we'll call on Andrea, please.
was going to be the only item I was going to speak on this evening, apart from James's nomination as fire chief. In 2020, the Political Subdivisions Opioid Abatement Grant Act was established, and that was done with the intent of helping our fellow Oklahomans deal with opioid overdose crises. Out of the 1,200 subdivisions that were eligible to apply for a grant opportunity, the city of Shawnee was among the 71 successful applicants, and we received just this year a $124,360 grant, $124,000 to be spent over the course of 2 fiscal years. As part of our implementation plan, the Oklahoma Attorney General's Office asked us to coordinate with the Oklahoma Department of Mental Health and Substance Abuse Services on potential free distribution of the Narcan kits. And so this MOU would allow us to do exactly that. There is no guarantee that the ODMHSAS will always have free kits available for the city's use, but if we do not have an MOU in place, we cannot even ask. So again, ultimately underlying is the grant agreement we have with the Oklahoma Attorney General's Office for opioid abatement activities. They have specifically asked us to take advantage of the free resources at the other state department, but in order to be able to do that, we have to have an MOU in place. This will not cost the city anything. We specifically did not want to take away from the Narcan supplies for our police and fire departments because they use that on a regular basis. So this is above and beyond what the city's already receiving specifically for the grant activities as laid out in our implementation plan that was approved by the Oklahoma Attorney General's Office. I'd be happy to answer any questions you have.
Any questions on item 13? I think all my questions were answered, so. Okay, can I get a motion on item 13?
Make a motion to approve.
I'll second. Vote on the item. Item passes 6-0. On item 14. Consideration of an ordinance of the City of Shawnee, Oklahoma, amending Section 16, Article 2, Division 8 of the Shawnee Municipal Code, providing for repeal, providing for severability, providing for codification. And we'll call on Joe Vonner, City Attorney, for staff report.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, Commissioners. Appreciate your time this evening. This issue was drawn to our attention by Commissioner Mattson with regard to a particular provision of the ordinances relating to cabin site leases. Upon review, the ordinance was in need of modernization and clarification so that we could best serve our cabin site leaseholders and make that asset more workable for them and for city staff. To do so, we're addressing 2 issues. The first is clarity with regard to a provision that provides exceptions to the transfer of cabin site leases for in instances of the first being estate planning that cabin site leaseholders may undertake to protect their assets and transfer them upon their death. So this creates an exception that allows them under certain circumstances to transfer that cabin site lease to a wholly owned grantor trust or living trust that they might set up for estate planning purposes without having to pay a full transfer fee. The second is in the event of the death of a lessee or leaseholder and the ability to transfer that lease to loved ones pursuant to their estate planning without incurring that full transfer fee. As a result of those clarifications, which are exceptions to the transfer fee, we have also made an additional change that's before you for consideration tonight with regard to how those transfers are approved. Presently, it is up to this commission to approve all transfers of cabin site leases, even if it was a transfer from a cabin site leaseholder to a trust owned by the cabin site leaseholder, and it would trigger a full transfer fee, which, as the commission may likely knows, is in excess of $1,000. Under this modernized draft that's been being presented to you for consideration this evening, that type of a transfer would be handled administratively and would carry a much lower fee of $250 to account for staff time in modifying the lease to accurately reflect the new leaseholder. Now, this would be you guys giving up some power. I mean, to put it succinctly, but it would make the process in those two limited circumstances easier for the leaseholder and a much more quick process rather than having to wait for it to come before the commission. So that is what has been presented in an effort to modernize and provide clarity with regard to those two issues. And with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions for Joe on this?
One thing I left out.
Okay.
When a full transfer is completed and approved by the commission, it does extend the lease term. It renews the lease term. For
So
the
it starts
full
anew?
lease term, it starts a new lease.
Okay.
Because we don't want to take that authority, staff did not believe it advisable to take that authority away from the commission. The administrative name change would not extend the term of the lease. And so that is another important distinction I should have drawn to your attention.
Thank you. Okay, can we get a motion on item 14? I'll make a motion.
Second.
Is that a second?
Second.
Yes, ma'am. And then now we'll call on Joe to read the ordinance title, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. An ordinance amending Chapter 16, Article 2, Division 8 of the Shawnee Municipal Code, providing for repeal, providing for severability, providing for codification, and providing for emergency.
Thank you. And now we will vote on the question. And the item carries 6-0. On to number 15. Consideration of an emergency clause as it relates to agenda item number 14 for the protection of the public's health, safety, and welfare. An emergency is declared to exist per Oklahoma State Statute Title 11, Article 14, Section 14-103. And we will call on Joe again to give us a staff report.
I'll be brief. In order for this ordinance that you have just passed to take effect immediately, the emergency clause would need to be passed. The reasoning behind putting it before you is just to give you the option to eliminate the confusion that presently exists a little more expeditiously. If the emergency clause does not pass, then this ordinance will become effective 30 days from its publication.
Thank you. Can we get a motion on item number 15? Okay, I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
Ashley second, and then we'll vote on the question. And the item carries 6-0. On number 16, public hearing of a request to rezone property located at 3918 North Kickapoo from R1 Low Density Residential District to C2 Regional Commercial District. Case number RZ05-24, applicant Erica Jones. This is item deferred from November 18th, 2024 City Commission meeting. And we'll call on Ryan Harkins, Community Development.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, Commissioners. Now for something completely different. If you can catch the movie reference or the subject matter, you're my new friend. This is a request, as noted, to rezone property on Kickapoo from R1 to C2. The applicant is looking to maximize and further develop commercial opportunity on a major commercial corridor in the community. Staff has reviewed the item, Planning Commission has reviewed the item, and you'll note in the staff report they recommend approval on a vote of 6-0. They had no questions or concerns. We received no feedback or objections from any of the surrounding property owners when we did the notices to adjacent property owners. Staff's recommendation is approval, but first we would ask that the commission open the public hearing.
Okay.
With that, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
This is right across the street from the mall, basically, correct? Is that-
No, ma'am.
Is it not? What's
No.
the location of it?
It's next to it. It's got a strip mall on one side and then residential to the west. So the 3900 block would be,
You know where Sciatai is?
Is that, oh, okay,
Beside
okay,
it.
okay,
There
okay.
used to be
I
a
know
home there.
exactly.
There used
I
to be a
went too
home
far
there.
north. Okay, okay,
Yeah.
okay.
Now do we open for public hearing? So we open for public hearing, item number 16, and ask if there is anybody here to speak for this item. Don't see any takers. Is there anybody here to speak against this item? Okay. Then we will close the public hearing. And do we have any discussion, any more discussion amongst us on this? Move on to item number 17. Consideration of an ordinance to rezone from R1 Low Density Residential District to C2 Regional Commercial District for property located at 3918 Kickapoo Avenue, case number RZ05-24, applicant Erica Jones. Ryan's up again.
okay. As noted, our recommendation is approval. It's concurrent with Planning Commission's approval. So if you have any other last minute questions or concerns, we'd be happy to address them.
I think we're good.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ryan. And can we get a motion on item number 17?
I'll second.
So Daniel and Lauren. And then we'll call on Joe to read the ordinance title, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. An ordinance concerning the zoning classification of the following described property located within the corporate limits of the city of Shawnee, Potawatomi County, Oklahoma, to wit, Lot 3, Block 1, College View addition to the city of Shawnee, Potawatomi County, Oklahoma, according to the recorded plat thereof, from zoning classification R1, Low Density Residential District, to C2, Regional Commercial District, amending the official zoning map of the city of Shawnee accordingly.
Now we'll call the vote. Motion carries 6-0. Yes, so we will now move to item number 18. Public hearing of a request for a conditional use permit for a short-term rental located at 40 Chickasaw Drive, case number CUP 05-24, applicant Edward King. Ryan's up again.
Mr. Mayor, Commissioners, as noted, this is a conditional use permit request to a short-term rental or Airbnb at the property noted at this address. The applicant is currently in a long process of relocating back to Shawnee. I emphasize long because he lives part-time in Alaska, but it owns a number of properties and is looking to do one Airbnb unit at this address at the present time, and that's all. He's looking at essentially, as he moves back, doing additional development later on other properties that he owns, but this is his first, as he puts it, his test case. Notice was served to adjacent property owners. Staff notes that first and foremost because we want to emphasize the calls that we got were more about the general overall nuisance conditions in the neighborhood and not specifically about the presence of an Airbnb unit. In fact, the one call that I personally received was from a resident in the neighborhood that said, I would rather have an Airbnb because it's more regulated than a typical long-term rental unit. So they will have to keep it clean. Having said that, staff did the proper review. We recommended to Planning Commission as well as to you that the STR be approved per the conditions outlined in the development code, which are listed in the staff report. So when Planning Commission reviewed this item, there were no objections raised. Their recommendation to you is to approve on a vote of 6-0. Staff's recommendation is concurrent with that as well. Again, per the conditions noted in the staff report. Those are also listed in the CUP approval form. Having said that, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
No questions here? Okay, and at this time, I'd like to open this item up to public hearing and ask if there's anyone here that would speak for the item? Is there anybody here to speak against the item? Okay, we will close the public hearing. Move on to item number 19. Consideration of a conditional use permit for a short-term rental location located at 40 Chickasaw Drive, case number CUP 05-24, applicant Edward King. Ryan's up again.
Okay, as we noted, Planning Commission and staff are concurrent in their recommendation of approval, the conditions of which are listed in the CUP approval form. If you desire, as the governing body, to make any other conditions, you would just make the motion and to include those conditions and state them as well. Having said that, I can answer any other questions you might have.
Do we have a mechanism in place, this may be more city manager answer, I don't know, a mechanism in place for paying hotel motel bed tax on these conditional use permits for Airbnbs? What does that entail as far as, I mean, are they having to retain a tax ID? Like, how is that working? How are we getting that tax? Or are we getting that tax?
That is a little more complicated, and I would be glad to bring an administrative report back at the next meeting, because the original proposition that called into being our hotel motel surcharge specifies a certain prerequisites, and not all of those are met by the STR. So I'd be glad to bring back an administrative report to tell the city commission on how that works.
So we're not, is the answer, we're not collecting, based upon the way that reads, we're not collecting tax on Airbnbs?
It depends.
Okay. So, okay.
Well, I guess I'm just confused on what it depends on. So some people we do and some people we don't.
It depends on the length of stay. And our proposition language for the hotel motel surcharge was very specific. So if you allow us some time to compile this information and then present it at the next meeting.
Okay. Any other questions on?
I don't know if it's a question or so much as like just something to recognize. On the application itself, the Planning Commission application, the dates for the calendar meetings and meeting dates, it all says 2022.
Correct. Those are the old applications. Those have been
Okay, so
updated
this
with the
is-
new code.
Okay.
And the dates are pulled out and are a separate piece that you can pull off the website now.
Okay.
Okay. Any other questions on item number 19? Okay. Thank you, Ryan. And can we get a motion on item number 19?
Move to approve staff's recommendation.
Okay.
I'll second.
Motion and a second. Daniel and Mark. Now we'll vote the question. Motion carries 6-0. On to item number 20, consider bids. A, Lowe's Water Line Loop Replacement Award. And we'll call on Brad Schmidt in place of Seth Barkheimer for staff report.
Good evening.
Good evening.
As you know, staff received an open bids on November 26, 2024 for the Lowe's Water Line Loop replacement. We received 4 bids. City staff and Burns & McDonnell, the design team for this project, reviewed the bid proposal and recommends awarding the base bid to Davenport Construction. We submitted the lowest bid of $549,017. Happy to answer any question.
Any questions on the Lowe's loop? Could you give us kind of an idea where that loop is actually
So it's
taking place?
behind Lowe's. Be on the south side, loops back around behind their construction yard. That line currently dead ends just on the north end of their entrance. We've had multiple issues over the years with that being a dead end. Fire flow testing being conducted on Lowe's system, causing main breaks there, which then in turn shuts down a large portion of our commercial area there at 45th, I-40, and Kickapoo. This line would take it from an existing valve there on the north side and bring it around and tie it into the service road to the north, crossing IHOP parking lot into a valve that city staff installed several years ago in anticipation for this project.
So it's actually completing a loop instead of a
Correct.
deadhead, so there's no water hammer to break things.
No water hammer,
You can isolate better.
correct. Quality, water quality, water age, all those things are
Yeah.
improved.
Okay.
But it sounds like the way you said we're losing, our businesses were losing water, in turn causing us a loss of sales tax, correct?
Correct.
Okay, that's what I want to hear.
Okay. And so, any more questions on the Lowe's loop? Okay. And can I get a motion on 20A?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Got a motion by Greta and second by Ashley. And we'll call the item. Item passes 6-0. On to 20-B, Hayes Street Waterline Replacement Award. And again, Mr. Brad Schmidt.
So this Hayes Street water line replacement, city staff's entered into a professional service agreement with Callan Group for design. We advertised the project and staff opened bids on December 5th of 2024. City staff and Callan design teams reviewed the proposals and recommend awarding the base bid to B&H Construction LLC in the amount of $450,192. And this is just an upgrade, bringing an undersized line that presents pressure issues for that area. And we've had multiple main breaks on it throughout the last several years as
So
well.
we're replacing and upsizing for better volume and
Correct.
less pressure loss.
Correct.
Okay. Any questions on B? Okay. Can I get a motion on the Hayes Street Waterline Replacement?
I'll move to approve.
Mark, and I'll second. We got a motion and a second, and now we'll vote on the 20-B. I'll give it to Ashley.
Oh, I didn't second Lauren.
Oh, it's Lauren. Oh. She whole shotted me. She got me. Oh,
Get yours.
I'm fine with it. I'll third.
okay. And 20-B carries 6-0. On to 20C, Public Works Maintenance Facility Storm Repairs Award.
So this is, this bid encompasses several buildings at our Public Works yard on South Kickapoo. Damages that were sustained from the April 19, 2023 storm event. We received 4 bids that were received and opened on December 10th of 2024. Staff's reviewed all 4 of the bids and recommend awarding contract to Midtown Construction Services in the amount of $126,392. The biggest issue on that is our main facility. The south wall is separated from the building, allowing moisture, water, all the elements.
That's the big
into
tall
the
building?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Any questions on item C for Brad?
Move to approve.
Okay.
Second.
Got a motion and a second? Motion carries 6-0. Item 21, acknowledge monthly sales tax and budget reports. I'm calling Kimberly for a staff report.
The sales tax for December totaled $2,694,541.37, which includes $3,789.81 in interest. This revenue is distributed across 8 funds. The receipts in December are from the estimated November sales and final sales figures for October. December 2024 collections are an 8.11 increase over December of last year. When comparing the collections to the conservative budget projections, for December, we are 4.90 above projections for the month and 1.79 above collections year-to-date. Use tax for December totaled $356,659.91, which is 17.06 decrease projected collections for the month. When you combine the use tax and the general fund portion of the sales tax, the general fund is currently $1,258 below budget projections. On the second page of the report is the sales tax collection comparison chart by month for the last 12 months. This comparison includes Shawnee's peer cities of Yukon, Ardmore, Muskogee, Barksville, Stillwater, and Eden. These cities were selected with 3 factors in mind: population, city tax rate revenue, and revenue per 1% sales tax. Most of the cities saw an increase of the sales tax from November to December, including Shawnee, which showed an increased sales tax of 11.84%. On the last page, the report is a graph that shows the year-over-year sales tax growth by month. It also captures the South Region Consumer Price Index change for Shawnee sales tax receipts over the last 12 months. 3 of the last 5 months have been downward trend when you look over the year by month.
Okay. That's good news
Yes.
for the month of December anyway. Okay, thank you. All right, on to item 22, administrative report. A, per and polyfluoroalkyl substances, PFAS update. Joe Vonner, City Attorney, for presentation.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, Commissioners. It was requested at our last meeting that we have an update with regard to the PFAS litigation and testing results that this commission voted on with regard to participation in a settlement matrix. So we've put together a brief presentation to address that by way of reminder for the commission and for those in attendance and watching. The per and polyfluoroalkyl substances, or PFAS, which have been referred to as forever chemicals, are a group of manufactured chemicals, industrial and consumer uses since the 1940s. There's thousands of forever chemicals. They're extremely stable, which leads to a buildup in environment and organisms. So when we talk about the litigation, which we're about to get into, we're dealing with a multitude of manufacturers of these chemicals over a period of almost a century. We're also dealing with a multitude of suppliers, all of which have been or are being addressed through multi-district litigation. That multi-district litigation began earlier than the city of Shawnee was involved, as early as 2020. But the city began investigating the issue last year. And in conjunction with council, Bulmer Sill, McAfee, and Taft, who the city has worked with over a period of years on various tort litigations as a cost-effective mechanism to investigate potential harms that have been purveyed upon the city of Shawnee. They were involved and were willing to look into this issue for us. And so the city of Shawnee engaged with those law firms to investigate the forever chemicals and the potential impacts as it related to the city of Shawnee, particularly as it related to active litigation with a subset of manufacturers and suppliers. And I want to emphasize that because there are many manufacturers and suppliers and many ways that these chemicals can create harm. The city of Shawnee continues to be diligent in their investigation of these issues, but this is by no means as exhaustive, nor are the settlements that you have voted to enter into exhaustive of all claims that we are aware of or may become aware of. So once engaged with council, they immediately set forth on very expensive testing on behalf of the city of Shawnee, which led to full laboratory testing of multiple samples from both Twin Lakes and West Watkins. And when I say multiple samples, we're talking about in excess of 50 samples that were taken from those 3 sites, which was a comprehensive snapshot of our drinking water, which I think is what most people are concerned with and was the predominant question prompting this administrative report. As the slide dictates, all results came back well below EPA thresholds for the forever chemicals, which prompted the city to follow the advice of council with regard to the litigation. I do want to delve in a little bit deeper than the slide for the commission's information and based upon the inquiry that was raised in public comment. And so just to add, in addition to discussing the multitude of samples that were taken again from Twin Lakes number 1, Twin Lakes number 2, and West Watkins, that ultimately resulted in a 19-page report with full laboratory testing results on those samples. I don't want to be too bogged down in the minutia and technical jargon contained in the report because I'll be honest, I'm not entirely certain I understand all of it. But the one thing I do understand is in the definition section, it discusses BPQL, which is an acronym for Below Practical Quantitation Limit, meaning there's not enough there for us to read anything to quantify it, to be able to read it. It is so below not just below threshold, but so low that we can't even quantify it. That BPQL designation was what was assigned to every laboratory test of every sample but 3 that were taken related to the city of Shawnee. This is very good news. And obviously, something that was well received and the commission was privy to those results, maybe not at that level, but obviously when we're talking about EPA threshold and then we're talking about not even being able to be measured, that is a good sign. Of those 3, the specific chemical that did register with a testable limit was PFBA. That was 1 sample from each of our 3 water sources. But again, those levels were below EPA thresholds for harmful levels. That is what prompted the advice of council because ultimately those levels were very low. There was not a risk of harm based upon those particular lawsuits. And therefore, because there was a measurable amount, we did qualify for settlement. And so that is why the recommendation was made by council to opt into the settlement matrix. And again, I want to be very clear, that is with regard to those specific claims, those subset of manufacturers and suppliers. And
Excuse me. Joe, I just been waiting out in the parking lot.
oh, hey man.
I didn't want to interrupt you, but
Hey.
I was the guy here to talk about. I've just been sitting out here wait for my turn to come in. So I don't.
He'd do a much better job than I would.
About it, so I thought I'd interrupt you.
When I get done flubbing this up, that's Matt Sill with Fulmer Sill, and he can answer any questions that you guys might have on specifics. And so, as we look at this litigation outlook, there's nothing final, but as the commission is aware, early estimates on the matrix look like will be around 30,000. As the commission was aware when they voted on it, that's not a certainty. There's a lot of things that will have to be addressed with regard to that. And there are, again, as discussed, retain rights as to future litigation outside of this subset of claims. With that, and with Mr. Sill's help, I'd be happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Yes, sir. Any questions on the PFAS?
If he wants to give us an update, that'd be great.
Mr. Seal? Yeah.
I don't
To add anything?
I just gave you the update.
Okay.
So not in drinking water?
That's what was tested.
Okay.
Okay, so. All right. I think,
questions?
I think we're satisfied there.
All right.
All right, thank you, Joe. Now, on item number 23, new business. Any matter not known or which could have not have been reasonably foreseen prior to the posting of the agenda. Ms. Andrea.
No new business, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, ma'am. Now, commissioner comments. We start with Daniel. Sure. Thank you.
Not much tonight. I do want to recognize item D in the consent agenda, where we appointed former Senator Sharp in place of Mike Warwick. Mike passed away recently, and I just wanted to honor him and his service to so many different organizations and entities in town. Mike cared deeply about many, many things in this community and was a pillar of our community for a long time. And so I just want to offer my sympathy and condolences to his family and thank them for his service. I don't want to wade into it, but I'll just say it is a positive thing when the city and the county have a good relationship. Our constituents suffer when we don't collaborate well. Doesn't mean we have to agree on policy, but we need to have a spirit of collaboration. I believe all the county commissioners want that. I believe all of our staff and up here want that, and we can always work better at it. So, and then I just want to take a minute. Every interaction I've had in my life, whether it's sitting on a jury and watching their work and their detail and their investigation, or interacting with them here or in a variety of ways, I've always been very impressed with our police and fire and all of our first responders, but tonight particularly our police officers and our police force. And you know, they run into dangerous situations. They protect all of us. They serve many times in their own peril and in the middle of very difficult and trying circumstances. And we have an officer that suffered a tragedy in his family the last week, and to watch our city staff and our police force rally around him in the midst of incredible loss in his life. And I've known that young man since he was in high school and watched him grow up in this community, a great family, and to know that that's not an isolated case, but that a lot of these guys, they no matter what they have going on in their personal lives and what they've experienced, they're running to protect and serve us. And so I just want to offer my condolences to Officer Hall and his family, and then also just say thank you to all of our first responders for the service they provide in the midst of, you know, their own circumstances. And just seeing how city staff and the department has rallied around him has been, I think, nothing short of what we would expect, and a compliment to those departments. And so just wanted to offer my condolences to that family. And on a happier note, Merry Christmas to everybody. Hope you would have a wonderful time with your family this season. And God bless us, everyone.
Greta?
So I've learned one of the things that I keep repeating to people is that, now that I'm in this seat, is that we're probably going to disagree, but I hope we're still friends. So that's probably one of the hardest things about being in a political seat of any sort, or a political position of any sort, is that you have to field all of the information from constituents and in this position, the city itself, and then of course the department heads and things like that are weighing in on the decisions that you're making. And so I just want to reiterate my commitment to my ward and how I intend fully to represent them as best as I can. And then to the city of Shawnee as a whole, I've been a resident of many different wards throughout my life here. And so I just hope we can all still be friends at the end. So Merry Christmas and Happy New Year. Hopefully 2025 will be stellar.
Ashley?
I just appreciate that the county was here tonight, and I agree with Daniel. I'd like to see the county and city work closer together. I appreciate the superintendents for all coming out and giving a presentation. Like they said, they're very transparent. All of that information is on their website, so I think that's very valuable. Education is extremely important. I'd like to note that I see the impacts daily. Gordon Cooper does not benefit from this, but our partners do benefit from this. We have 31 partner schools, and 14 of those will benefit from that. I see the students and how they benefit daily from that. I have kids personally that benefit, that go to North Rock Creek and Grove. I think it's a big deal. I appreciate them and the hard work and effort they put in. And they're gonna be the people in this community that are getting these education dollars are gonna be your future engineers, nurses, doctors, business owners, and those that sit on the commission and volunteer in the communities and give back. So we need to set that as a priority. They're gonna be our future educators. And I give the story often, whereas it does not benefit our students at Gordon Cooper, it benefits our partners, which are students that come to Gordon Cooper. And I will tell you, I've been there for 18 years, and those are the nurses that have helped me deliver my child, the nurses that have casted my baby's arms. This is the electrician that I hired last week to do electrical work at my house. These are the cosmetologists that cut your hair. It's very, very valuable what you can do with education money. So I'm excited, and I hope you get educated on this future vote.
My turn, huh? I agree with them as far as the county and the city need to work together. I mean, it's just like any kind of team sport. The two together are a lot more powerful than just one of us fighting each other. Sales tax, great to see an upswing. We kind of made up what we lost last month, made it back this month. Hopefully that continues. And want to wish everybody a Merry Christmas. About all I got tonight.
I might have to start going first.
Stole
I'm just
your
gonna,
thunder.
Yeah, because I really can't add any more to anything that anyone has said, but just to say that even as an English teacher, I don't think I could have said what Ashley said any better than how she said it. So to reiterate everything everyone else said, but especially what Ashley said, because being the industry that I've chosen my life and career to be in, I fully agree with you on that.
I'd like to once again thank staff, not only just the staff that we work with all the time, but the rest of the staff, the first responders, people that work out in our community every day, and guys like Brad's guys that crawl down in the holes and fix our water mains in the middle of February when it's freezing and sleeting and they're 8 foot down to waist deep in water and trying to find that hole and put that full circle clamp on it and get everything fixed and the water turned back on before the sun comes up. Everybody on staff is really putting forth all their effort, and I really do appreciate all of them. And also like to give a shout out to Seth for their last minute ramshackle of trying to get everything put together for the Christmas parade. Went to the parade. They had a very short time to get everything done. They stepped up to the plate, and I saw city staff down there, PD, fire, REACT. Everybody had a great time. Everybody was laughing and happy. We had pretty decent weather. It was a little bit drizzly, but it wasn't cold. And most important, I saw hundreds, if not thousands, of kids down there cackling, laughing, having a good time, saying ooh and aw every time the fireworks went off. And I think everybody down there had a good time. And I'd like to kind of add on to what everybody else said about the city and the county. I would actually throw the state in there as well. When we all work together, we're all definitely going to accomplish more. It comes all the way down, it trickles all the way down. And at the end of the day, we're all Okies. So, I mean, I think we all just need to work together as best we can and get done what we can get done. And with that, I'd like to say Merry Christmas. And so now, we will recess the City Commission meeting by the power of the chair to convene Shawnee Airport Authority and Shawnee Municipal Authority. But first, can I ask, does anybody need a break?
Yes, please.
Okay.
I was going
So
to say that.
I'd like to say, give a 12-minute recess by the power of the chair, and we reconvene at 8:30.
Oh, that's.
What'd you do?
Clicked the wrong thing.
I gotta re-sign up.
Well, I thought I was in the airport, but it was it was still in the city commission.
I know, no, I
I am
know,
now.
oh, I know, that's all right.
I don't know.
No, I know exactly. I'm talking to Joe about it.
I'm tired. I'm sorry.
Oh, no, not that.
It was today. It was good. We're gonna move his physical therapy down to Shawnee, bring it to VA. So he's,
That'll save you some time.
I haven't seen him in a long time. We're going for the surgery appointment, consultation Wednesday.
I'm not saying, that's an issue. I'm not saying we do it.
Okay. So I'm on the right thing. I'm on the airport authority. So are we ready whenever?
We're on airport. We're on airport. There we go.
And Commissioner who?
Matthews. You too. You're holding us up.
1 and 2?
Hello. Oh, are we ready?
We're ready.
Oh, we're moving on.
Y'all just move on, what?
Well, when y'all didn't start at 8:30, we figured
Yeah,
we'd just keep
I
going.
thought y'all weren't ready. Do I need to leave meeting? Yes,
We're
okay,
going to airport, I think.
okay. Okay, so we can just get this done in 5 minutes, right? The airport one? Is it a 5-minute long meeting?
Move to approve.
Okay.
Well, that worked out earlier.
Everyone's ready? Okay. So now we just start with number 1? Yes. Okay. Item number 1 on the airport authority. Consider approval of consent agenda. Do not have to read these.
Move to approve.
Okay. Got a motion
Second.
to approve?
Yeah.
And second. And then we'll call the question. And the motion carries 6-0. On to item number 2, public hearing on an amendment of the City of Shawnee Capital Improvement Plan, the CIP, for fiscal years 2025 through 2029 encompassing multiple changes. We call on Ms. Kimberly Smith for staff report.
Okay, the City of Shawnee CIP for fiscal years 25 was adopted June 17th of 24. Staff is now requesting an amendment to the CIP to adjust estimated project costs, change commencement years, and include revised funding information for existing projects and new projects identified by the SAA. The requested changes stemmed from the ongoing collaboration with ODAA that brought about additional state funds for previously city-funded local projects. The proposed amendment to the CIP includes updates to existing projects and the addition of new projects for the development of the Shawnee Regional Airport. The projects in the revised CIP will allow staff to apply for grant funding from the FAA and the ODAA. Before applying with the FAA, these projects must be in our CIP. The list of projects are requested are as follows. The ones that we are changing are the repairs to an existing taxi lane providing access to T-hangars and box hangars and the main aircraft parking apron. And also an upgrade to the precision approach path indicator lighting system from the iridescent lighting to LED technology. The new projects will include construction of a new T-hanger taxi lane to support construction of 2 10-unit T-hangars, construction of two 10-unit T-hangars to replace those damaged beyond repair by the 2023 storm event, construction of the new airport terminal building and ground vehicle parking lot to replace the terminal damaged beyond repair by the 23 storm, construction of a new taxi lane, parking apron, large-scale box hangar, roadway and utilities to support development in the southeast quadrant of the airport, construction of a new aircraft fuel storage and distribution system, strengthening runway 17 through 35 parallel taxiway Alpha and connecting taxiways Bravo, Delta, and Echo. Reconstruction of the main aircraft parking ramp and apron to improve current conditions and provide for additional aircraft taxi and parking surfaces. The financial impact is the fiscal impact is contingent on funding provided by the FAA, FEMA, and the ODAA.
On this one, we make a motion? No, this is a public hearing. Okay, number 2, public hearing. So we ask if anybody's here to speak during the, open the public hearing. Now we ask if there anyone here to speak during the public hearing.
As an A&P card holder from Gordon Cooper that allows me to work on anything that flies, even experimental stuff, thumbs up on anything we can do to bring jobs and commerce to the airport. Those jobs pay really good, have really good benefits, and the money that you can bring in from private planes, pretty nice. So, all for it.
Thank you. Anybody else would like to speak? Okay, we'll close the public hearing. Any discussion among the board on this item? That was number 2, correct? Okay. Okay, so we'll move on to item number 3. Let me get caught up here. Consideration of an amendment to the capital improvement plan CIP for the city of Shawnee fiscal years 2025 through 2029 encompassing multiple changes. Again, we call on Ms. Kimberly Smith for staff report.
On this item, the staff recommends amend the City of Shawnee's capital improvement plan. Is there any questions?
I don't think so. You all good?
Thank you.
Okay.
Move to approve.
Okay, motion from Daniel,
Second.
second from Lauren. And we'll call the question. Item carries 6-0. On to item number 4, consideration of approval of the capital improvement plan CIP for the Shawnee Regional Airport for fiscal years 2025 through 2031 and authorization of the Oklahoma Department of Aerospace and Aeronautics in their capacity as agent for the Shawnee Airport Authority to submit the CIP to the Federal Aviation Administration. And we'll call on Ms. Andrea.
As I did just a short month ago, I would again like to present to the City Commission the Executive Director for the Oklahoma Department of Aerospace and Aeronautics. Mr. Grayson Ardiz is here to showcase the slightly revised capital improvement plan, and I understand that we talked about CIPs a lot. As you know, we have a citywide capital improvement plan. He will be talking about the capital improvement plan specific to the Shawnee Airport, which has to be submitted to the Federal Aviation Administration. So you may have noticed different years. Our capital improvement plan is 25 through 29. This particular one for the airport is actually 25 through 31. But without any further ado, I'll cede the floor to Mr. Ardiz.
Thank you, Andrea. Good evening, Commissioners, Mr. Mayor. I believe you have in front of you the CIP, or would you like the old-fashioned paper version?
Sure, I'll take them.
All right.
I'll keep
You made
everything.
them, I'll take them.
I'll take a copy of everything.
So a few edits and changes from when I visited with you all last. We have added a few projects to the CIP, and we've discussed the opportunity to act as agent heavy, as I had mentioned to you at the November commission meeting for the slate of some of the designs that are upcoming. So in 2025, the changes that you'll see is we've actually added some apron work to the existing rehabilitate taxi lane project. That's to extend some of the comments we heard about the cracks in the apron and doing some crack repair before the larger reconstruct apron project, which would happen early in the 2030 cycle. You'll see it on the CIP is designed for 31. That usually assumes that construction is going to happen in 32. So obviously we want to make sure that we can have a usable pavement section to carry that over. We've also added in PAPIs, precision approach path indicators. These are the lights that pilots utilize transitioning from the instrument segment or the final approach segment to the landing segment to dictate whether they're on glide path, above glide path, or below glide path. City had identified that as a local project, and of course we informed the board that this would be an eligible project for the state grant program. So design happening in 25, construction happening in 2026. Along with all the other projects that we previously discussed whether it's the new T-hanger taxi lanes, the T-hanger buildings themselves, the construction of the taxi lane for the southeast development area, the construction of the terminal parking lot, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. The other change that we did is we added in a rehabilitate, or in this case, reconstruct and relocate the fuel farm in 2028. That's a design and construct. Obviously, that requires a little bit of a higher city match, whereas the Pappies are 95.5. With a low city match, this requires a 50-50 proposition, so a little higher on the matching requirement. We put it in 2028 to give the city some more flexibility, come up with the local monies needed for that. Of course, if you, the city, were able to come up with money earlier, we could certainly go a little earlier, either in 27 or maybe even in 26 if so desired. Obviously, we got to leave in a little design time there. And the rest of the CIP remains unchanged. You know, we've discussed helping the city with some of the cash flow opportunities of acting as agent heavy with the design in those first four projects, the design for the rehabilitation of the pavements, the design for the T-hangers themselves, the T-hanger pavement, and then of course the taxi lane for the southeast development area were the three originals. Now we're adding Pappies to that potential list of agent heavy projects. And so that really is where it stands today. Happy to discuss some of the cost associated with some of those design elements. Obviously, you can see design for the Pappies being individually on there for $86,000, but the design services for the southeast taxi lane would be $312,600. The T-hanger taxi lane, which includes the rehabilitation of the existing taxi lane and apron, would be $225,700. And then, of course, the design of the T-hangers themselves would be $121,500. So at the end of the day, we are certainly happy to support the CIP in any way, happy to support aviation construction here at the city of Shawnee, and happy to do whatever the commission so agrees to move forward the airport, and certainly willing to continue our help moving forward in years to come. But $35 million is not something to shake a stick at. Improvements over the next 7 years. Pretty exciting stuff coming for the Shawnee Regional Airport.
Any questions or comments for Mr. Arties?
I had one, but just because I at one point knew it and I don't remember it right off the top of my head. But also for those watching at home, the federal fiscal year, what's that look like in terms of like month starting to month end?
It's October 1 to September 30th in this federal fiscal year. It's typical that you will see the state fiscal year be the next year. So if you're getting a federal 25 grant, usually ends up being a state 26 fiscal year. So usually the last quarter of the federal fiscal year, which is where the grants come in, is always the first quarter of the state and local fiscal year. So we're working to change that, but right now the federal grants, the way they come out late in the cycle, it's the nature of how things operate. So
thank you.
That's usually a safe bet.
So this seems great, because from what I remember from the advisory board meeting, we as the airport, we're gonna take all these expenses on our own with no match, and now we've rolled it into the CIP, we're now getting state match, so financial impact is reduced, and we're getting all the things that the advisory board was concerned about, from what I'm seeing, I think. So I think this is great, right?
Correct, yeah. So the two projects alone, the Pappies and the fuel, we're reducing the local share by roughly a little over $1 million.
Nice.
So, you know, and there are other projects that we talked about with the advisory board to potentially help, whether it's the concrete pavement repairs out there to serve the three hangars, the south side of the taxi lane, to repair those areas. We could certainly potentially look at a project on down the flight path for that too. And, you know, obviously we've discussed the runway and the taxiway strengthening at length, and helping support the strengthening of that. There's other projects we've talked about that maybe as a future iteration of a CIP to come before you next year, we'll maybe be able to add some of those projects to the list. So yeah, it's certainly happy to work with your vision and make sure that we're able to see this little airport succeed.
Anything else? I'd like to just personally thank you for ramrodding this for us. You've been beyond accommodating. We understand that you don't necessarily have to be here tonight. You could be home with your family, but you're willing to take your time out to come explain to us one more time yet again, everything, that all the fine details and everything. And I think this is going to be a game changer for Shawnee. I think it's really going to open up a lot of avenues for us, and I'm just really glad to be a part of it.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
It's exciting.
Thank you, Grayson. Yeah, it's very exciting. Any other discussion? Okay. So we need to get a motion.
I'll move to approve.
A second?
Lauren and Ashley, and we'll call the question. Motion carries 6-0. Thank you so very much, Grayson.
Thank you.
And now, item number 5, any new business? We will call on Ms. Andrea.
No new business, Mr.
Okay.
Mayor.
All right, we will adjourn by the power of the chair and go to the Shawnee Municipal Authority. Oops. Golly, I did it again. I don't know what I'm clicking. Thank you. Whew, long night. All right. Now, item number 1, consider approval of consent agenda. Can I get a motion on number, okay, Daniel's motion,
Second?
or a second. Let's take a vote on item number 1. Motion carries 6-0. Item number 2, any new business?
No new business.
All right, thank you. And we will adjourn by the power of the chair, reconvene.
He's got something.
Oh, I'm sorry.
We're extending 44 days to,
Sorry?
He was gonna give something and he's changed his mind.
What you
Oh.
got, Brad?
Brad?
there's item 2 on there, wasn't there?
That was no new business.
Be what?
No.
No new business?
Yeah, we're good.
Asked.
No, no.
The change
no,
order
it
was part of the consent.
agenda item, the change orders were all good.
Okay. Okay, so
You
now
just
we
wanna
go
get
to
up and
adjournment. We can adjourn back to, okay. Reconvene and back to City Commission meeting on item 25. And this is discussion and consideration of entering into executive session as allowed under 25 OS 307B4 to discuss confidential information between city council, city attorney, and attorneys from Fulmer Seal concerning litigation against social media companies related to mental health, addiction, and societal harms on behalf of the city of Shawnee and under advice of city attorney. Disclosure will seriously impair the ability of the city of Shawnee to conduct litigation in the public interest. So now, can we get a motion?
So convene in an executive session?
Yeah,
Yeah, I'll make a motion.
yeah.
Okay, I'll second. Yep, it's me again.
We're just all laughing at you tonight.
I've been up so long today.
I can just take it.
Verbal. I'm on there now, aren't I? Okay.
Did you get the option to vote?
Nope.
I'll go ahead and take your vote.
Yes. Thank you. Okay, motion carries on that screen, 6-0. There it is in the middle. All right. Do we move to 26? Okay. Item number 26, discussion and consideration of entering into executive session as allowed under 25 OS 307B4 to discuss confidential information between city council, city attorney, and attorneys from Fulmer Seal concerning litigation against pharmacy benefit managers related to price-fixing schemes of insulin and other medications vital to the community on behalf of the City of Shawnee, and, under advice of City Attorney, disclosure will seriously impair the ability of the City of Shawnee to conduct litigation in the public interest. Any discussion among the board? Can we get a motion on item 26?
Motion to approve.
Greta?
Second.
Ashley, second. Item carries 6-0, and we will now recess and go into executive session. So item 27, discussion and consideration to authorize the mayor to execute the legal services agreement, LSA, and resolution for the city of Shawnee for representation by Fulmer Seal on behalf of the city of Shawnee in litigation against social media companies. I think we've already had all of our discussion. We can stand, so now we need a motion.
Do we need?
And, Mr. Mayor?
Yep.
As a point of clarification.
Yes, sir.
The resolution agenda item as authored, only lists Fulmer Sill. As we were informed by council, McAfee and Taft is
Right.
also involved in this, and so I would request that any motion that is made to approve the LSA include an amendment by interlineation to include McAfee and Taft as well.
Sir. And so now can we get a motion?
Motion to approve?
Second.
And then we will call on Joe to read the resolution title.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. A resolution of the city of Shawnee, Oklahoma, to provide for the retention of attorneys to address social media companies related to mental health, addiction, and societal harm. Excuse me.
Thank you. And now we will,
Motion was to approve it to add McAfee,
Yeah, Fulmer Sill and McAfee.
so we can amend the resolution.
I have an amended resolution
You're awesome.
and an amended LSA that I'll get.
I still can't do that. I gotta use that. And motion carries 6-0. On to item number 27, or 28, discussion and consideration to authorize the mayor to execute the legal services agreement, LSA, and resolution for the city of Shawnee for representation by Fulmer Seal on behalf of the city of Shawnee in litigation against pharmacy benefit managers. And do we need to do the same thing on the ordinance?
Yes, the resolution, I would want to
The
include an
resolution.
amendment by interlineation to add McAfee and Taft.
Okay. And can we get a motion on item number 28?
Move to approve with interlineation.
Thank you. Now, second.
I'll second.
Okay. Then we'll call on the city attorney to read the resolution title.
He did. That's
Thank
fine.
you, Mr. Mayor. A resolution of the city of Shawnee, Oklahoma, to provide for retention of attorneys to address pharmacy benefit managers related to insulin and other medications.
Okay. And we'll call the vote. Item carries 6-0. And now, item 29, I'm going to adjourn this by the power of the chair. And to all, a good night.
Second.